You won't find anyone better than me, my ex told me the night I caught him lying. So I packed his things, changed the locks, and went no contact. 6 months later, I'm dating his old boss. We just got engaged. And guess who's asking to be the DJ at our wedding? He said it like he was doing me a favor. You won't find anyone better than me, Ethan told me, while zipping up his hoodie like that was the end of the argument. His voice had that smug calmness he always pulled out when he was cornered, like he'd just presented undeniable proof in a courtroom. He said it after I caught him lying. Again, this time, it wasn't just about some Instagram like or a flirty DM. It was dinner with a girl he used to hook up with when we were on one of our many breaks. A girl I'd explicitly asked him about months ago. He'd sworn nothing had ever happened. Said I was making drama out of old news. Guess what? They had history. Real, tangled, messy history. And that dinner? Not a group hang like he claimed. Not a business thing. Intimate. Just the two of them. Candles on the table. She tagged him in a photo and, like the absolute dumbass he is, he forgot she still follows me. So I confronted him. Calmly, asked him why he lied. Why he made me feel crazy for months when my gut had been screaming at me. And that's when he shrugged and dropped the line. You won't find anyone better than me. Like I should be grateful. Like I was the broken one for asking for honesty. Like he was a limited edition collector's item and I should be honored to be in his toxic museum. I stood there in our living room. No, my living room. Because the lease was in my name, watching him act like I was overreacting. And something in me just snapped, quietly, like a door closing behind you. You need to leave, he laughed. Thought I was bluffing. I didn't flinch. I walked to the hall closet, grabbed the box I'd been slowly filling for months, Ethan's just-in-case box, and tossed it on the floor in front of him. Shoes, hoodies, his precious Beats headphones. The stuff he always left around like markers of his presence. I'm serious. You're out. I'm done. You're being emotional. Yup, I said. Emotional and very done. He didn't go quietly. He tried the manipulation greatest hits. Accusations, tears. You're really gonna throw this away? Guilt-tripping about how hard he'd tried. Then came the anger, the yelling, the passive-aggressive texts after he finally left. Hope you're happy alone. You're going to regret this. No one else will love you like I do. But I didn't cry that night. I packed the rest of his things in silence, changed the locks first thing in the morning, and then I blocked him on everything. No contact, no slip-ups. 6 months of silence, 6 months of me. And it turns out, Ethan was right. I didn't find someone better than him. I found someone who made Ethan look like a cautionary tale. His name is Marco, 42, CEO of the company Ethan used to intern for back when he was still trying to make moves. Older, sharper, emotionally available, and, oh yeah, divorced 3 years ago with 2 teenage daughters who adore me. We met at a conference. I was speaking. He was in the front row. And now, we're engaged. Last week, we sent out our wedding invites. And guess who texted me out of nowhere asking if we needed a DJ? Said he's getting into music now and would love to help create the vibe. Ethan, this man wants to DJ my wedding. To his former boss. To me, the woman he swore would never find better. And trust me, Reddit, the vibe will be immaculate. You ever realize someone never actually saw you? Like, not really? That was Ethan, a man who could stare at me across the dinner table, nod while I talked about my goals, my fears, my work wins, and still somehow never see me. Because in his head, I wasn't a person. I was a prop in his fantasy of success. We met when I was 27. He was 30 and still working as a glorified assistant to a mid-level executive at a tech company, Marco's company. Though I didn't know that at the time. Ethan used to brag about it like he was running the place. He called himself an innovator. In reality, he scheduled meetings and picked up lattes. But he had this way of talking, like everything he touched was part of a grand plan. I used to think it was ambition. Now I know it was delusion. Our first year together was that early relationship high. Brunches, late-night talks, inside jokes, playlists, and takeout and road trips where we sang like idiots. And I thought, this is it. This is my person. Except things started breaking. Slowly, quietly. The first time I caught him in a lie, it was over something dumb. He said he had to work late. I swung by to drop off dinner. He wasn't there. His coworker, a very sweet, very blunt woman named Alicia, said, "Oh no, Ethan left hours ago, said he had a date." Alicia thought he meant with me, and when I confronted him, he laughed. Swore I misunderstood. "You're paranoid, babe." That's not what she meant. He was so calm, so sure of his lie, that I actually doubted myself. That was the beginning of my erosion. By the time we hit year 3, I was shrinking, apologizing for everything, for being too emotional, for asking questions, for not trusting my instincts. He gaslit me so gently, I didn't even notice the fire until everything inside me was ash. I didn't know I was lonely until I wasn't anymore. Marco changed that. When I met Marco at that conference, I wasn't looking for anything. I was just there to speak on a panel about digital branding. Marco was on the board. He came up after my talk and said, "You know your stuff? I like that. Most people just parrot buzzwords." He looked at me the way Ethan never had. Not like a checklist, like a person with a brain and a backbone. We grabbed coffee after the event. It was supposed to be professional, just coffee, but it didn't feel like networking. It felt like breathing fresh air after living underwater for years. He didn't flirt, he listened, and I couldn't stop thinking about him after. Nothing happened that day, not even a hug goodbye, but the seed was planted, and when Ethan finally crossed the last line, that lie about dinner, the "you won't find better" speech, the arrogance, it was like I already had proof. There is better. I just met him. I went full no contact that night, changed my number, deleted every photo, wiped him out like mold. Marco and I didn't start dating until 2 months later. I ran into him again, completely by accident, at a gallery opening for a mutual friend. We stood near a piece that looked like tangled rebar dipped in glitter, and he whispered, "Am I supposed to understand this?" We both cracked up. It was easy after that. It wasn't love at first sight. It was love after peace. The kind of love that feels like sitting down barefoot in your own home and realizing you were wearing stilettos for years without noticing. Now here's where the story starts getting interesting. Last month, I posted our engagement photo. Marco and I in the mountains. Windy, golden hour, holding hands. My caption was simple: "Found my always." And guess who liked it? Ethan. He liked it. Then 2 days later, I got an email from a new address, jethanvibes@gmail.com. Subject line: "Let me spin your big day." I thought it was spam. But no, inside was a playlist. A playlist. With cheesy wedding remixes and a note. "Heard the news. Congrats. If you need music, I'm your guy. Would love to make it special. No hard feelings. Let me know." No hard feelings. This man, who used to belittle my career, my friends, my worth, now wants to bring his $200 Craigslist DJ setup to my wedding. To the man who used to sign his paychecks. I haven't replied. Yet. But, oh, Ethan, you're going to feel this wedding. I should have known Ethan wouldn't stop at a cringy email. 2 days after I ignored his DJ offer, I got a text from an unknown number. "Congrats again. You looked beautiful in that photo. Crazy how life works, huh?" Blocked. Then came the DMS. He made a burner account. Truth Hurts 85. Real subtle. It started with more fake positivity. No hate, just wanted to say you upgraded for sure. Good job. Then, not even 2 hours later, "Bet he doesn't really get you like I did though." The shift was instant. That's the thing about Ethan. He can't stand being ignored. He needs to be the center of your attention, even if it means being the villain. I didn't reply. Not once, but the messages kept coming. Some pathetic, some angry. One just said, "You think you're better now?" LMOO. But I stayed quiet. I was calm. Until the package showed up. My assistant called me at work, confused and a little concerned. "There's a guy here trying to drop off a wedding gift. He said you forgot to include him on the registry." I felt that old nausea crawl up my spine. "Tell him to leave it and go." Inside the box, a framed photo of us from 4 years ago. Me in a sundress. Him kissing my cheek. I remember the day. We'd just gotten into a fight the night before and made up with mimosas and cheap sushi. I kept the picture back then because I wanted to believe we were okay. He added a sticky note for the memory table. "I figured you'd want everyone to know where you came from." The audacity. I snapped, not in public, not with tears, but quietly, internally. The kind of rage that simmers below your skin and makes everything feel sharp. I walked that photo right out to the parking garage dumpster and tossed it, heard the frame shatter when it hit the bottom. It felt holy, like I just buried a version of myself I no longer needed. But it wasn't over. That night, I told Marco everything. Every text, every message, the photo. I'd been shielding him from it, not because I didn't trust him, but because I didn't want to taint our joy. Marco didn't yell. He didn't puff his chest or make threats. He just looked at me with this quiet, deadly calm and said, "He's testing your boundaries. He doesn't think you'll do anything." Then he picked up his phone, scrolled to a contact I didn't recognize, and made a call. "Hey Daniel, need a favor. Got a guy harassing my fiancé. Works in tech. Goes by Ethan S." "Yeah, that Ethan." "No, not surprised." He paused. "No, don't ruin him. Yet. Just make sure he knows we're watching." Marco is the kind of man who doesn't throw punches. He places pressure. Quietly. Strategically. Turns out, Ethan's DJ dreams weren't his only new gig. He'd been applying for jobs in the same industry he flamed out of, trying to crawl back to relevance using old connections. One of those connections? Daniel, a longtime associate of Marco's. Small world. Funny how the universe folds in on itself sometimes. The next morning, I got no texts, no emails, no burner messages, nothing. Just silence. But the peace didn't last. A week later, I was walking out of my favorite boutique, picking up a hairpiece for the ceremony, when I saw him. Ethan, standing across the street, leaning against a rental car watching me. Sunglasses, hoodie, pretending to be casual. My heart dropped. I didn't cross. I didn't wave. I walked right back into the boutique and told the owner, Renee, bless her, that I was being followed. She locked the door, pulled the blinds, and handed me a peppermint tea like it was wartime. He was gone 5 minutes later. I filed a report that night, just in case. Marco wanted to install cameras around the house. I agreed. That night, as we sat on the couch with our dogs curled between us, I asked, "Do you think he's going to try to come to the wedding?" Marco didn't even blink. Let him. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about an ex trying to crash a wedding. It was about control. Ethan had lost his grip on me, on the narrative, on everything he thought he'd always own, and I was finally free enough to let him spiral. But if he did show up, oh, I had a plan, and it was going to be poetic. The thing about a man like Ethan is he always circles back, not because he loves you, not because he's sorry, but because he can't stand not being the main character in your life. And now, 6 weeks before the wedding, he was getting desperate. It started with mutuals. People I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly texting me, "Hey, just heard about you and Marco. So happy for you." Then, not even a beat later, random, but I ran into Ethan at a bar last weekend. He mentioned you. Sounded off? Off how? He asked if you'd ever gotten over him. Said he thought maybe you were trying to make him jealous. This man genuinely believed that my engagement, to his former boss, was a performance directed at him. Then came the voicemail. He called from a different number this time. Left a message like it was 2007 and I hadn't blocked him on everything. "Hey, it's me. Look, I know you're probably with him right now, but I wanted to say I miss you. I think about us a lot. I think we had something real and you know that deep down. You don't have to call me back, just if you're not sure if there's even one part of you that still wonders." He trailed off, like he was expecting me to fill in the silence with guilt. But all I felt was disgust, not even sadness anymore. Just the cold clarity of knowing exactly who someone is and being so far past caring, it feels like you're watching a stranger squirm behind glass. I didn't respond, obviously, but I did forward the voicemail to Marco. He didn't say much, just stared at his phone, then muttered, "I need to take a walk," and left for an hour. When he came back, he looked calmer, resolved. "I think we need to move up the timeline," he said. "We were supposed to do the big family dinner next month. Marco's daughter's meeting my parents, everyone bonding before the wedding. But after that voicemail, we moved it up to that weekend. And that's when Ethan pulled his boldest move yet. We were sitting outside at Marco's place, sipping wine with the girls and my mom, when Marco's assistant called. She said it was urgent, he told me, handing me the phone. It was my old landlord, from the apartment Ethan and I had shared 2 years ago. Apparently, someone had shown up asking if I still lived there. Said he was an old friend hoping to reconnect. Gave a fake name, Toby something, but left behind a note. She read it over the phone. "Just tell her I still think about Paris. Tell her I remember everything." I never went to Paris with Ethan. He's unraveling, I thought. He's slipping into fantasy now. Marco leaned forward, his voice low and calm. "Do you want me to handle this?" I nodded. And that's when I did the thing that changed everything. I posted the voicemail on my private Instagram story. Not public, just the close friends list. The ones who'd seen Ethan play the golden boy. The ones who still followed him. The ones he cared most about impressing. Captioned it, "For anyone wondering why my ex won't be DJing our wedding." It exploded. One of our mutuals screenshot it and sent it to him. He tried to deny it, said it was fake and edited, claimed I was trying to slander his name because I couldn't let go. But it was his voice, his words, his unraveling. By Monday, 3 people had pulled out of his little DJ side gig, including one event he'd been bragging about for weeks. Then, Tuesday morning, I woke up to a tagged post from Ethan. A black and white photo of us from 2019. The caption? "Some things never die, some people just pretend better than others." And that was it. That was the moment. The moment Marco looked at me and said, "We're not playing defense anymore." That was the moment we got to work. Because if Ethan wanted attention, he was about to get a front row seat to something unforgettable. Update 1, y'all. I did not expect this story to blow up the way it did. I posted the first parts thinking maybe a few people would relate. Maybe I'd get some catharsis. Instead, I've been drowning in DMs, comments, even people offering to DJ the wedding just to spite Ethan. Special shout out to @DJ_Cringekiller. Your remix of Boy's a Liar with Ethan's voicemail over it? Art point. But seriously, thank you. Reading your stories, your rage on my behalf, your absolutely unhinged suggestions, hire a mime to shadow Ethan at the reception, release doves trained to poop on site, gave me more serotonin than 6 months of therapy. And for those asking, yes, Marco heard the voicemail. Yes, he knows everything. And yes, he is 1000% unbothered. He's not just supportive, he's strategic. He's the kind of man who doesn't yell. He builds plans, quietly, like he's playing emotional chess, and everyone else is still arguing over Connect 4. So, about that plan. After Ethan's little black and white Instagram stunt, captioned, "Some things never die," "Bro, what are you, a Marvel villain?" Marco sat me down and said, "Let's give him what he wants." "What's that?" I asked. "An audience." See, Ethan was unraveling in private, but he wanted public. He wanted spectacle. He wanted to be the tragic ex who almost had it all. So we decided to flip the script. Here's what we did. Marco owns part of a charity foundation. They were throwing a gala. Fancy event, suits and gowns, press in attendance. Guess who was just recently rejected from DJing that event? Ethan. Guess who suddenly got a mystery invitation from an anonymous donor? Ethan. And guess who showed up? Looking smug, wearing that same tight blazer he's had since 2017, hair gelled within an inch of its life? Ethan. He strutted in like he was back on top. He saw me across the room, and I could feel the mental monologue happening. There she is, my one that got away. And then he saw Marco, arm around me, talking to board members, laughing with the mayor. Ethan froze. You could see it, his eyes darting around, like he was trying to do social math. Then his mouth opened, probably to say something smug, and that's when the slideshow started. Big screen on the stage, charity highlights, photos of community work, awards, and then engagement photos. Marco had slipped ours into the end-of-year donor reel. Not just one, a sequence. The final one, me in his arms, laughing. Caption, building something real, together. The room clapped. Ethan left. Didn't say a word, didn't finish his drink, just slipped out like a glitch in the simulation. The best part? A friend of his, someone who used to take his side when we broke up, texted me the next morning. Okay, I get it now. He's not the victim. He's the cautionary tale. So that's where we're at. Ethan's been quiet since. No DMS, no burners, just silence. But the wedding's in 3 weeks. And something tells me this man is not done, which is fine, because neither am I. 3 weeks until the wedding. Everything was coming together. Dress fitted, cake picked, vows written. And then Ethan decided to become a wedding planner. Not officially, of course. But one of our mutuals, let's call her Marissa, sent me a screenshot that nearly made me drop my phone. It was a post from Ethan's private story. Black background, white text. Weddings are a scam. Half of y'all just faking fairy tales while cheating behind the scenes. Just wait. Some truths come out at the altar. Now, let's be real. That was a threat. A vague, cowardly, attention-seeking threat. But a threat all the same. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I just screenshot it, saved it in a folder I'd named Ethan's Greatest Hits, and forwarded it to Marco with a single caption. Should we be expecting a flash mob? Marco just replied, let him. I've got something better. And he did. Because here's the thing about Marco. He's quiet, but he plans. Like oceans have tides, this man has backup strategies, which is how we ended up hiring someone very, very specific for wedding security. Marco's old head of HR, Celeste. Now, Celeste is a 60-something woman with 2 grown sons, a black belt in Krav Maga, and the emotional range of a guillotine. She's the type who can reduce a grown man to a fetal position using only her eyebrows. She agreed to handle guest control personally, said it would be fun. So the plan was set. If Ethan tried anything, he wouldn't get past the parking lot. But of course, he didn't try to crash the wedding. He tried to poison it before it happened. It was a Wednesday night. I was curled up in bed reading texts from my bridesmaids about nail appointments when my sister burst into my apartment holding her phone like it was radioactive. She said, you need to see this. Ethan had started a TikTok. Of course he did. 3 videos, all him, staring dramatically into the camera, doing those self-pitying monologues with sad indie music playing softly in the background. Video 1, him holding a photo of us, yep, again, while whispering about narcissists who pretend to be healed. Video 2, a ramble about how some people move on too fast because they were already gone. Video 3, a stitched clip of Marco and I at the charity gala. Funny how some men build their futures using other men's blueprints. I felt this icy wave rise up in my chest. Not embarrassment, not fear, rage. This man, this irrelevant, parasitic, washed-up parasite, was trying to frame me as the villain in his sob story. So I did something I hadn't done in months. I posted a video, 1 minute long. Me, barefaced, in a hoodie, holding a sticky note that said, "You won't find anyone better than me." The line that started it all. Then I added, he said this the night I caught him lying. So I packed his stuff, changed the locks, and blocked him. 6 months later, I met the love of my life. We're getting married next weekend, and this man, who said no one would love me like he did, is now begging to be our DJ. Fade out, posted it, closed the app, went to sleep. By morning, it had over 400,000 views. By lunch, over 1 million. And in the comments, Please tell me he applied to be your flower girl too. Girl, you just gave him the public execution he was craving. He didn't lose you. He invested in your glow-up. People found his page. They flooded it. Not cruelly, just poetically. With mirror comments, sticky note jokes, quotes from my video. He deleted everything by that night. By the next day, he posted an apology video. Eyes red, hoodie up, staring into the camera like a man on a redemption arc. I've been going through it. I let my emotions get the best of me. To anyone I hurt, especially her, I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because revenge, it already happened. It wasn't loud, it wasn't petty. It was a million strangers watching a man realize in real time that I did in fact find someone better, and that everyone knew it but him. We were 1 week out from the wedding. Dress steamed, rings polished, final seating chart approved. Even though Aunt Linda insisted on bringing her new boyfriend, who looked suspiciously like her accountant, I was feeling peaceful. A strange, deep kind of peace. Like my nervous system had finally stopped bracing for impact. Like Ethan's final TikTok whimper had been his last gasp of relevance. I was wrong. Because Ethan didn't just want to humiliate me online. He wanted a scene. And apparently, he thought the rehearsal dinner was the perfect place for it. Now, to be fair, he wasn't invited, obviously. But the dinner was held at this gorgeous open-air bistro downtown, and it was a little too close to where Ethan's new job, some sad little event branding startup, had just opened a shared office space. According to a hostess I tipped later, he'd recognized a name on the reservation list and showed up early. Sat at the bar, waited. I didn't even see him at first. I was giving a toast, something short and sweet about Marco's daughters and their weird obsession with breadsticks, when I noticed a flicker of movement by the courtyard entrance. Ethan, in a charcoal jacket that didn't quite fit, hair slicked back, smirk locked and loaded. And right as I raised my glass, he shouted, "Tell them how you used to cry in our bathroom." Silence. The entire table turned. Marco stood slowly, deliberately, like a lion who'd just spotted a gazelle attempting stand-up comedy. But before he could move, Celeste, our Krav Maga wedding enforcer, appeared from the shadows like a tactical fairy godmother. "Out," she said, already walking toward him. Ethan raised his hands, backing away like he was the misunderstood one in a rom-com. "Wow, so much for honesty," he muttered. "Just wanted to say congrats. Guess it's still a crime to care." He left before she even reached him. The room stayed quiet, just for a second. Then Marco, my future husband, the man who could dismantle a man's entire psyche with kindness, clinked his glass. "To my wife," he said, "who once cried in a bathroom and then built a better life outside of it." The table erupted in laughter. We didn't talk about Ethan again that night. But the next morning I woke up to a wedding gift on my porch, wrapped in tissue paper that smelled faintly of Axe body spray and desperation. Inside, a burned CD, labeled "The Real Soundtrack," and underneath, a note. "One day, you'll remember what we had, and you'll wish you danced to this." I laughed. I howled. I hadn't seen a burned CD since high school, but I played it, out of morbid curiosity. Track 1, that Chainsmokers song he used to insist was our song, followed by a Sarah McLachlan ballad, followed by Mr. Brightside. Then, absolutely unironically, Nickelback. I didn't cry, I didn't even cringe. I just pulled out a Sharpie and wrote on the disc, LOL, dropped it in a bubble mailer, sent it to his office. Return address? djbetterthanyoutmarried.com. Petty? Maybe. But after everything, it felt like art. And that, I thought, was it, until Marco pulled me aside that afternoon. "Babe," he said, "you need to see something." He handed me his phone, an email from Ethan to Marco. Subject, one man to another. Inside, a novella, a manifesto, a rambling plea for understanding. How Marco stole his future. How he never meant to hurt me. How she always ran from real love. And finally, my favorite part, how he'd make peace if Marco just let him be part of the day. Just one song. That's all I'm asking. One song. As if this wedding were an open mic night for emotional terrorism. Marco didn't respond. But we both knew what needed to happen next. We weren't just going to block Ethan from the wedding. We were going to use him. Update 2. Well, we got married. And yes, Ethan made his move. And no, it did not go how he planned. But before I get to the finale, I want to say thank you again to everyone who's followed this emotional soap opera of a love story/exorcism. Your comments, your memes, your DM'd playlists titled Songs Better Than Ethan's CD have truly kept me going. Now, back to the wedding. It was perfect. No, really. I don't mean Pinterest perfect. I mean peaceful perfect. The kind of perfect where the veil fits just right and your dad actually keeps the speech under 3 minutes. Where Marco's daughters call me bonus mom during their toast, and I manage not to ugly cry until dessert. The ceremony was outdoors, under an old oak tree that felt like it had been waiting for us for decades. We said our vows. We kissed. Everyone clapped. I saw my mom sobbing. I saw Marco's stoic brother actually smile. And then we got to the reception. Now, we hadn't planned anything dramatic. No weird performances, no cringy surprises. But we did plan a reveal. See, Ethan never stopped trying to insert himself. That last email, the one to Marco begging for just one song, that was only the beginning. 2 days before the wedding, someone tagged me in a Reddit post, in this very subreddit, from a throwaway account. It was titled, "My ex is marrying my old boss. Should I crash their wedding to win her back?" I didn't even need to open it. I knew it was him. Same language, same self-pity, same "she was everything and now she's fake" energy. So I did something petty, something final. I emailed him. For the first time in months. Subject, "You've got one song." Message, "Come to the wedding. One song. Your call." We set it up. Celeste and Marco helped plan every second. We gave him a slot in the reception playlist. Didn't tell a soul. Not even my maid of honor. He showed up, of course. In a rented tux 2 sizes too small, sweat beading through his collar by the second chorus of our first dance. The DJ announced, "And now, a special request from the couple." Ethan stepped up, took the mic. People turned. Confused murmurs. He smiled like he'd just won. And then, his voice cracked. Because the track that played wasn't his. It was my video. The one I posted to TikTok weeks ago. His voicemail. My sticky note. The whole thing. Playing on loop. Projected onto a screen behind him. The room went silent. He stood frozen, trapped in his own narcissistic time capsule, while 200 people watched the man who once told me I'd never find better literally implode on screen. And when the clip ended, I took the mic, smiling. That was Ethan, everyone. He's the reason I know what love isn't. Now let's dance. We queued up Lizzo. The room exploded. Ethan disappeared sometime during the fourth verse. No goodbye, no drama, just gone. And me? I danced like a woman reborn, married, free, loved by someone who doesn't flinch at my ambition or shrink at my shine. And Ethan? Well, I hear he's doing a podcast now. The day after the wedding felt like waking up inside a dream I actually wanted to stay in.